All right, Deluxe tool cart. This was a really fun project. I've been wanting to make a flip top cart for about 6 years. Finally did it. Incorporated some other pieces. So this video really, yes, it's a tutorial. You know, all the tips, how to do all the stuff. You know, some fun drawer fronts, handles, some storage solutions, but really it's just inspiration, right? I wanted to upgrade some of my tools, and this just worked for this smaller garage shop. So lots of ideas here. Feel free to use those timestamps to skip around. If you're looking for something in particular, you know, to see the whole thing, the full meal deal, or just watch the whole thing. So here you have it, how to make this tool cart. All right, before we get too far into the build, cutting plywood, all that kind of stuff, obviously you want to think about design. So for me, what I love about this is I can customize the height I want, especially if you're doing long hours in the shop, thinking about back problems. I like to have everything up higher. Obviously, I got a little benchtop joiner here that's a little bit lower. So take into account the height you want. Like I got a benchtop sander here. Where do I want my hands to be? Lots of considerations. There's a lot of these flip top carts out there on YouTube. People have plans, so you can find some plans if the measurements are tricky for you. But really, it's you're looking at your tools and you're customizing. So first, do some planning, sketch it out, do a little bit of math, and then you start cutting. All right, let's start cutting. Let's put it together. So first up, you want to go ahead and make your plywood a little bit more manageable. I like to use this little crosscut, AccuCut. Craig makes this for circular saws, helps break down the plywood. Then go to the table saw. I mean, obviously you could use the circular saw for everything, but with all of these different pieces, the table saw makes quicker work for it. And just as you can see here, measure, double check. I'm using some blue tape to mark each piece just to make sure I've accounted for the right pieces and I'm not wasting it, especially with the cost of plywood these days. And so go through, make your pieces, make sure you got all of them, double check again, a dramatic shot of, you know, all your pieces. Do I have enough? But yeah, plywood, it's no joke these days. What I like to do here is I like to mark out where I'm going to drill the pocket holes. So figuring out which side I want it, which is the better side to be facing out, but then just marking to ensure I drill the right piece. This is such a great project to do with your kids or your grandkids. My sons love helping. This is my middle son, and he's always loved helping with pocket holes. Here I'm using the Armor tool, one of their jigs. There's a lot of different tools out there for drilling pocket holes, but this one works great. My 2-year-old's helping too with a little hammer time. But yeah, plenty of pocket hole jigs out there, but with the big sheets of plywood, this one actually goes pretty quickly, makes quick work of it. This whole project is just pocket holes and screws, no glue necessary. It's still plenty strong and can hold up to everything just fine. But go ahead and drill it out. And once you drilled it all, make sure you suck up all that dust, get rid of it so the screw can fully bite where it needs to bite. And then you're ready. Well, actually, you're not ready to assemble. You got to mark out those big pieces. So this flip top cart, we got that side panel. This is that taller piece. You're going to measure and mark out where the pipe is going to go through, and then the slots for the locking hardware. And so here, centering it up, just drilling, you know, a 3/4 inch hole in the middle for the pipe. And then going ahead and drilling some holes and then using the jigsaw for these slots. So this style of flip top cart has some carriage bolts that we'll go through. I'll show that in greater detail, nice and slow in a little bit. But you do want to cut that ahead of time before screwing the whole piece all together. It's just going to make your life a little bit easier. And here we go. So assembling. When it comes to assembling things with pocket screws, pocket holes, it's always great to have clamps. One, you want to use clamps because it can, you know, it's an extra set of hands, but you want to make sure that the piece is tight, and plywood, sometimes you got to wedge it into place, and it's going to just help you out that much more, and it's going to give a tighter fit. You know, here, had my son helping as well. But here I got the bottom shelf. I'm going to have a drawer at the bottom, which adds some stability. And then this is just the drawer top. Sometimes you got to wedge into some tight places. Some fun attachments make that a lot easier. I'll show some of those shortly. But again, these are just some trigger clamps. They make it so much easier. I use pipe clamps as well for these big projects. But clamp it up, make sure you're using the right piece, get it all tight, and it's pretty forgiving, except when you mess up. And so here, messed up on a measurement, And so here is my middle son. This is his first time with the table saw, giving a little pointer on where it all goes. So it's pretty fun to do these projects with your kids, with the family. Safety first. Forgot to turn on the dust collection, so it's a little dusty. But anyway, sometimes you might misjudge that piece, and whoops, a measurement's a little off. And so do it. Don't try and, will it back into place. Make the adjustment, drill some more holes. Like you can see those extra holes there. It's shop furniture, and this one's not, these holes aren't gonna be seen anyway. But then go ahead and keep drilling, keep attaching it together. So this is 2 separate pieces that I'm attaching together. So earlier I talked about attachments. My drill is not gonna fit in here for all of these pocket holes. So this is a right angle drill attachment. This thing is amazing. It fits in and it will, rotate independently. And so here, you can see it right here, how it works. I can still use the drill. I don't have to use like a little stubby drill, and it works great. Then I'm just attaching the 2 pieces together. And here they're together, right? And it's pretty flat. It's sitting flat on the floor. You can see, all right, it's nice and flush, but this is not gonna be secure enough with, when I put it on casters. It's just gonna bow in the middle. That's not enough support to add these 2 together. So for what I decided to do is here, you can see it right here. That's just gonna bow in the middle. It's just not gonna last. You could cut a whole sheet of plywood, that's a waste, or just grab some scraps, or you're gonna really just join everything together. So I cut some scrap pieces of plywood to stretch across. Of course, support it with some Duplos and scrap pieces to make sure that it's level and while it's still a little unstable. And then I'm just adding these pieces on the bottom and screwing it through nice and tight. And this is just gonna make it more rigid. The 2 separate cart components will really join into one, and it's just gonna be so much stronger. As far as screws, make sure you're picking the right screw. That middle one, you can go a little bit deeper. Of course, it's common sense, take that into account. Then it comes time for the casters. So of course you do want to take into account the height of the casters as you're designing all your measurements. Get some really heavy duty ones. You want it to be mobile, especially a small shop like I've got. Mobile one makes a big difference. Here's another one of those pieces, really bridging the 2 together. This just added so much more support and strength, and a must do. Obviously you could do a full sheet, but that's just such a waste, and you can really use scraps. These ones on the side are totally, mostly unnecessary. They're just gonna complete the look all the way around just for a uniform look, but it adds more strength, and let's see how it works.
How do those casters work? Does it move really well? Oh yeah. Oh ho ho.
All right, time for the flip cart component. So it's just a couple sheets of plywood, but then you're going to have, I'm just using some pine, some 2x4 material here. You could use poplar, some other wood. And so this is just going to be that divider in between that holds the pipe for the whole flip top action. And what I'm doing here is I'm just ripping the boards down to be the same thickness of the pipe. So the pipe is 3/4 of an inch, so that's what I ripped it. Right, here's the hardware that I'm going to be using. So I got to look at the bolt and just kind of measure where that bolt is going to sit on the inside. So just marking it out, and you can see the size of the material I need to remove. So this bolt is going to sit on the inside of the wood there. But in order to cut that, I need to make a jig, right, for a safe cut on the table saw. I've made this jig before. You can see it in the background. It's a really versatile jig for a lot of different things. It's pretty basic. Just kind of measure it to right along your fence. Any fence works. I made this exact jig on my old DeWalt job site saw. You just, kind of screw it in place. You can use CA glue. You can use wood glue and brad nails. Just kind of measure. I am using some pocket holes here just because I had everything out a little bit stronger. And so it's just, you got a high fence on one side, and this is actually pretty versatile. You can use this jig for different things. I did use a little CA glue, some more screws, just to make sure it's nice and reinforced so it doesn't have too much play when I'm using it. And I'm just drawing a straight line, and I'm having a backer board here. A little scrap hardwood, because why not? And this is just going to support the piece so it's perfectly square and perpendicular to the table. This is great to use as like a tenoning jig, and lots of uses for this. I'm adding a handle on this one. I had it before, just a little bit more control, just a dowel, screw, little CA glue, probably not necessary. Some pre-drilling, and I got a little handle, a little bit more control on it. All right, so just real quick showing it in use. Don't worry, I will slow down and show this a little bit slower, but this is the idea, right? You're just taking the piece and you're clamping it to this jig as it can slide along. All right, a little bit slower here. So I got my piece, got it clamped in, and then that handle just, it rides right along. You know, set your height of the saw blade to account for, you know, the bolt, all that stuff. So take your time with this. I did, you know, mess up a couple of them and had to try it. So I always like to cut a couple extra pieces, but you know, even though wood isn't cheap, it is scrap wood here. You know, just some scrap 2x4s for these interior pieces. All right, so once you have the two cuts, go ahead and find your center line. And center line, get your 3/4 inch pipe, and then you're gonna have two pieces just to sandwich that pipe in between. And so pre-drill a good countersink bit, drill it in, and then just really sandwich it in. Get that super tight pipe, nice and tight, and you'll pull it out eventually. And then those other pieces that have the little notches cut, adding to the side. Again, clamp it down to get it right where you want it, pre-drill, countersink, and then add the screws, got it where you want, and then just some other pieces just to complete the whole thing for a little bit more structure, and it completes it off. What I'm gonna do here is I'm adding in some plywood, some 3/4 inch scrap plywood, because when I mount the tools, I need to make sure that there's wood wherever I mount the tools for the screws or the bolts. So just a brad nailer, get it in place, and then put the top cap on, and there you go. So plywood cap, adding some screws, a little overkill here, but just want it nice and tight. Make sure everything is square, ready to go, and there you have it. So this is the flip top component. The pipe is gonna ride through the middle, and here's that hardware. The hardware, a little closer look. So how it's gonna ride. I got a bolt, got some washers, and a nut, and then that carriage bolt with a star knob on the end is how it's gonna work. But so that's how it's gonna work, but I need to drill some holes for this. So I'm marking out where I want it to be, so it's gonna come in contact right in the middle. And then using a Forstner bit, I'm drilling a little bit of depth that's enough for the nut and the washer on one side. And then I'm coming back with a brad point bit to go all the way through. And then I flip it over and do the same thing on the other side just to make sure I got that straight, you know, that straight perpendicular pathway for the hardware. And so make it deep enough, just take your time on this, and then go ahead and take the bolt and a washer, stick it on up through, and it's pretty quick work here, getting it all into place right where you want it. So just go ahead, keep repeating this process for all four. It's pretty straightforward how to go about it. And then, you know, throw on that washer and one of those star knobs. My bolts are a little long here. I'll probably trim those eventually, but it works for right now. And again, you're just, again, repeating that process. Bolts and a washer up on through, and then a washer and then the nut up on top. And there you have it. And now you're ready to put it in place. The bolts work great as an extra set of hands, getting everything locked in. I can check alignment. I was a little off on mine, but it worked fine. I had enough play. I can get it nice and tight right where I want it. Here's a closer look at that bolt and the washer. You can see there's a nut on top. It goes through the carriage bolt, and then we got a washer and the head of the screw on the head of the bolt on the bottom there. All right, now I'm throwing in that 3/4 inch pipe, making sure I get everything aligned. It flips just nicely, flips so fine. And just kind of messing around with the star knobs, just checking everything to make sure you're good to go. Any adjustments needed, you can take care of it then. All right, this step right here, totally unnecessary. This is shop furniture. You don't need to dress it up. But you know what? I'm gonna look at this all the time. It's gonna be inspiration. So I'm taking some vertical grain fir, ripping everything down about, you know, 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 inch. Basically, I'm making my own veneer, my own edge banding. You could use edge banding, but you know, I have a lot of this VG fir. It's great. And then great little excuse for one of my littles to use the pin nailer, break in this new air compressor. I'll talk more about that at the end. And just kind of dress it all up, and it just really makes it look nice. and it also cleans up any mistakes. But again, just because it's shop furniture and it's, you know, for tools, doesn't mean you can't make it look a little fancy and enjoy it. So not using any glue here, just some 23 gauge pin nails, and there you have it. It looks rather nice. It's actually like, oh, this is more of a bar cart, but no, shop furniture. All right, I'm adding in just a couple shelves here in between the compressor, and just add in those tops. And time to build some boxes, to build some drawers. So just using here, this is some 1/2 inch for the bottom, and then I did 3/4 inch plywood for the drawers themselves. There's a lot of ways to make drawers. I like just doing pocket holes. So drilling some pocket holes on the sides, obviously all your measurements, take care of it. And then go ahead, I'm just doing screws, no glue here on these drawers right here. You can see my giant finger, don't ask. Okay, it was a router accident. I was not being smart. Use your router for how it's supposed to be used. Don't cut corners. All's good, everything's good. But anyway, made a box. So we got the box, pocket holes. Now we're gonna add the top, just a 1/2 inch bottom, little wood glue, and then some brad nails on the top. Pretty simple drawer, plenty of ways to do it. Make sure you got the pocket holes where you want them so they're gonna get covered by the drawer faces. Now I'm making some smaller drawers because I have that thinner section for these drawers. I'm using 1/2 inch material, so these will be 1/2 inch for the drawers themselves, and then a 1/4 inch on the bottom. This one, again, I'm going a different approach, just some wood glue and brad nails on this one. Just some wood glue, pretty simple. It's not gonna be a heavy duty box. I think that's plenty strong enough. Plenty of ways to do this. But this works great. Even got to use my 2.5-year-old, first time using a nail gun. He loved it, he's hooked. Again, great excuse to get the kids involved in the project. My oldest wasn't involved here, but has helped with other projects. All right, so here we are adding in that 1/4 inch bottom, 1/4 inch plywood, and just some wood glue, and I'm using a pin nailer here. All right, so for that big drawer, you wanna make sure you have a backer before you do it. So here you can see, got a backer. The holes are on the inside. Before I attach my drawer, I added that backer board. Drawer slides, pretty simple here. Just get some spacers for a uniform, you know, layout where you want it. Oh, okay, I'm really slow shot here. This is how you put a screw in, apparently. I thought you really needed to see this up close and personal. It's a drawer, they're full extension slides. It's pretty basic here. If you need more on drawers, there's a lot of great videos online, but it's not, don't be intimidated. I am using a 1/4 inch piece of plywood on the bottom just to have a little bit of a lip. Here's that right angle attachment. Again, comes in so clutch. Here you can see how it works. It's a great little add-on. Tools, all of this stuff, links down below if you're curious about the materials I use, whether it's the hardware, the tools, accessories, it's all down below if so interested. So here is, you know, just kind of more drawer slides. We're just adding in the drawer slides. Don't worry, this isn't gonna be super long here. Just giving you the picture, giving you a feel for it. Like I said earlier, I use a 1/4 inch piece of plywood just to keep it a little bit elevated from the bottom, and we're good to go. All right, I'm putting to use my new benchtop joiner. This thing is amazing. I love it, but I'm cleaning up some walnut. So this is a bunch of walnut that I've set aside that has a bunch of sapwood and character that I wanted to use for a special project. And so I'm ripping it down for drawer faces. So drawer faces, you can do anything, right? You could just use plywood, but you know, again, you know, it's your shop. Make it look pretty, make it look fancy, some more inspiration. So I'm just cutting out some of the choice pieces of contrasting sapwood and heartwood. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I got a whole Wood 101 video talking about hardwoods. You can check that out. But I'm just going for a cool pattern here, just playing around with it. And I really, really enjoyed this process, and I want to replicate this on future projects. There's a lot of ways to do these drawer fronts, and I kind of went through some different approaches. I decided to just add glue to the front and then just use a pin nailer and just put it straight in there. That way I didn't have to worry about like reveals, like with playing cards or spacers to get the reveal just right. And this actually worked out really well. You know, a couple more trips to the table saw to clean up and get those measurements just so. But just a little glue, and then attaching the pieces just like so. And I got a great little contrasting vibe here with the different walnut, cool pattern, and it's a look that I liked, and I'm really happy with it. And like I said, I hope to replicate this with future projects, more drawer fronts like this. But pretty basic. You got some drawer fronts, sand it on down, get it all nice and clean, you know, at least, you know, shop furniture quality. And then add finish. So I kept going through which type of finish to do here because I didn't want to get finish on everything. So I went with walrus oil furniture butter, and it's great. The stuff is amazing, really easy to apply. I can you know, do maintenance as needed, and didn't get everything else. Of course, you could just add finish to the whole piece if you wanted to. I just added it to the walnut drawer fronts, and then I did a little bit to some of the trim work, some of that VG fur, just to bring out the color. But there you go. Pretty color, right? So you got all that cool, crazy grain, some sapwood contrast. It's just fun, right? You're gonna be looking at this. Why not add a little inspiration to take a look at? And speaking of inspiration, dressing it up, thought I'd have fun with the drawer pulls. So obviously, yes, I have a CNC here for all of you purists out there. You know, I was on the fence before. I've really gotten into CNC this last year, and I've been able to do so many cool things. And so here is just really quickly showing you how I made these drawer pulls. This is gonna be really, really lightning fast. If you're curious about how I make these, how I got the paint, how I get the finish, this whole step, I have a video on sign making and just all of my experiences with the CNC this last year. So you can check out that video, how to do that. But really, you get some really cool results. So whether it's a laser cutter or something like that, have fun with your drawer pulls. So here are my Seattle Sports drawer pulls with all my different sports teams. Be careful at the router table with small pieces. Please be careful. I was careful earlier. I was just using it for the wrong intended purpose. That's why I nicked my finger. All right, so we got it all clean, got some roundovers. We're sanding all the pieces, making it look nice. Again, involving the kids. Get everything nice and sanded. So I got these drawer pulls, but I also made some caps. So this is just some cherry, some beautiful North American cherry, and with that black paint, it's just got a great look. Add in some spray lacquer. This is my go-to finish for a lot of pieces. Just great results. All right, so those caps that I was talking about, here just drawing the center line, marking it, punching it, and this is that 3/4 inch pipe. So I'm using the Forstner bit just about 1/2 inch deep. And this is adding extra support for the pipe. Also, if you mess up, like I did here, it covers it up. And so you certainly could just, most people with these carts, they just use a piece of plywood or some scrap wood. But, you know, have fun with it. Make an extra little plaque or something customized here. So this is gonna cover the hole, but it also is adding support. It's holding the pipe in place. It's adding extra support for it. So make sure you do that. It's not going anywhere. Nice, right? Oh, a little bit of branding too, why not? And so then the pipe, mark off where you want. I went about 1/2 inch of support, pulled it out a bit, used the recip saw, metal cutting blade, cut nice and smooth, use a file, clean it up. All right, and then just hammer it back in place, and then rinse and repeat. Do the same thing on the other side. It's great to be able to add the screws from the inside, right? So you don't see the screws on the outside. Yeah, you get it. Anyway, looks great. Now those drawer pulls, oh my gosh, I love how this turned out. So, you know, have fun with it. Find a woodworking friend in your area who maybe could cut, you know, something for your local sports team, or do something, or you could just use any drawer pull, obviously. But this was fun. You could use dowels and have these kind of, you know, standing out a little bit more. I was fine with just, you know, pre-drilling and then just making it flush. It worked great. All right. Some drawer solutions. Because I'm using the flip top cart, all of these sander attachment pieces, they're gonna fall out, right? They're gonna fall out. So I have to have some kind of storage solution. So I'm using foam for the first time, right? Whether it's Kaizen foam, shadow foam, whatever. It's really easy, right? I'd never done it, and this would just seem like a perfect application. So I'm just cutting the foam into place, all these little attachments. And, you know, with all these drawers and shop solutions, this is just one approach that you can do. This was pretty easy and pretty simple. Another option are these drawer inserts. So I have a whole other video for this drum sander storage. You can check this video on how I made these customizable, you know, you can change it out, little slots and plywood drawer system. So that's something to consider for your drawers. And if you want to look at that, check out that video. But there it is. There's the cart. It's looking great. So let's add the tools. So this air compressor is brand new. I've been wanting this one for a while. It's awesome. Obviously, I built it to fit it perfectly. So that needs no mounting. But here is that benchtop jointer. So it has a home, it's right there. When it comes to mounting the tools, lots of approaches here. I'm just drilling some holes and I'm doing bolts and nuts. Just gonna use the socket wrench and just kind of bolt this into place. So if you have access here, bolts and you know, a washer and a nut is a great option. Got my benchtop oscillating sander here. I'm using just coarse threaded 4-inch screws and a washer. And really this is plenty. It's gonna go through, and right, you can see it's about 2 inches there, but it's gonna bite into about 2 inches of the wood. And that's enough support with the 4 screws to hold this tool in place even when it's sitting upside down. And so it worked just great for me. A little test, flip it over. All right, kind of seeing how this is gonna work out. Now comes the beast, the planer, and this really is the reason why I've wanted this cart forever and waited too long. I mean, this sucker is, you know, 80, 90 pounds, and, you know, will the 4 screws hold this one in place? Yeah, they totally do. And I'm doing the same thing, just those 4-inch coarse threaded screws with a washer, and again, it's biting into that wood because we put the plywood in earlier. Works great. And so kind of test it out, flip top, check it out, and really happy with how this turned out. The vision panned out. All right, well, there you have it. The cart is done. Couple more final tips, some considerations to customize it, and an up-close look at all angles coming right up. But really quick, I just want to talk about the tools shortly. The planer and the sander, a lot of people know about them. You've seen them in my videos, seen them in a lot of other videos as well. This jointer, I've really wanted a joiner in the shop forever. Usually we just use, you know, straight line jigs, but to be able to do face jointing without having to do, you know, jigs and all the steps, it's just such a time saver. And benchtop jointers have come so far. I bought all these with my own money. It's not like I was a sponsor or anything. But I just want to share, great unit, awesome. Lots of reviews on this one. There's some other ones a little bit less expensive, but really happy with this 8-inch joiner, especially for face joining, but just for efficiency. Spiral cutter block. I'm not trying to do an infomercial here, I promise. Yes, you know, there's links to all the different tools and accessories I use down below. Buy if you want. Yes, there's an affiliate link, but if you're like me, small shop, doing my kind of stuff, small pieces, you know, these things extend. Great little unit, and I'm really excited about it. But what I'm most excited about is this air compressor. So this air compressor I've wanted for a while, just didn't want to justify it, but the size fit perfect, fits a little bit better, but the sound, listen to the sound. Okay, so air compressor, it's quiet, it's awesome. Tools, blah, blah, blah. But some other considerations as far as customizing. When you're building this cart for your shop, customize it to your needs. Again, the whole point is to save space, to organize, and just to improve efficiency. So you could take, you know, some trigger clamps, build some storage off on the side to maximize that space. Some clamp storage, a possibility. Paper towel holder, craft paper, you know. You could get one of these magnet bars. I love using these, you know, just mounted on the side. You know, different pieces. You can even have the clamps off on the side there. You know, I have more space here. I'll be customizing this out more. You know, CA glue storage, you know, these push stick clamps, push blocks. Here, maybe a sliding out thing. So have fun with it. Look around. There's a lot of other tool carts out there where you can just get some inspiration of add-ons just to make it that much more customized. But let's take a closer look at this one. Let's spin it around, get a final look-see at the cart. And let's see this baby spin. All right, so there you can take a look at the back, get a feel for what it looks like. Obviously, you can customize it further if you want there, but good casters make a big difference. I'm happy I went with 6 here just for that more support for this bigger one. Big, beefy casters works great. Obviously, take into account that height, but there you have it. Locking hardware, there are some other things you could do with this. So Brad Rodriguez fixed this build that. He was really one of the first ones to do the flip top cart. He's made some improvements to his style, which is kind of like this. So you can check out his video to see some little modifications. You can also do a different locking hardware option. Fisher Shop has a different one that's actually got the cords. It's got all of the power cords internalized, which is a great option. Other people have done it. Personally, I don't want everything plugged in. I got 3 boys who are in and out of my garage, and I like to only have one tool plugged in at a time. So if you got littles, if you got kids, grandkids around, it's fine. Yeah, the cords get in the way, but you can wrap them up. I don't think that's a big issue. I like to have one thing plugged in at a time. Bit of a hassle, but safety. So anyway, there's the cart. Fabulous. And there you have it. It is a tool cart. So if this video provided value to you, if it helped in any way, consider subscribing to see more videos like this. I have quite a few other, shop organization projects, like this one I showed with the drawers. Got a playlist of those. Lots of other videos too, using hardwoods, softwoods as well. Unique things with routers, all kinds of fun projects. So take a look, check it out. But thanks for watching. Again, hopefully it helps you get organized and make your shop more efficient. So you can, maximize all that time you got in the shop. So we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.